Hey there, and welcome back to Softbound. We spend our lives surrounded by voices, from family, from friends, from strangers. But when voices go silent, what remains? Sometimes the quiet says more than we ever expect, and sometimes it doesn't stay quiet for long. Let's get right into it.
The coffee was brewing. Its aroma filled Lori's small kitchen. Sun streamed through the window. It was a Tuesday, just a normal, quiet Tuesday morning. Lori moved slowly. She was still tired. The quiet felt good. It was a stark contrast to the noise inside her head lately. Her brother, Kevin, had been on her mind. He'd been distant, more than usual. She worried, but what could she do? He was a grown man. He made his own choices. She sighed, pouring milk into her mug. Then the phone rang. It shattered the calm. The sound was jarring, unexpected. Lori wasn't expecting any calls, not at this hour. She glanced at the caller ID. Her heart gave a little jump. It was Kevin. Kevin calling her. Now? After weeks of near silence? A flicker of annoyance quickly replaced by concern. Why was he calling so early? Was something wrong? Or was this just Kevin being Kevin? Unpredictable. A little reckless with other people's time. She watched the phone buzz on the counter. 1 ring, 2 rings. Should she pick it up? Part of her wanted to hear his voice. To ask if he was okay, but another part hesitated. Maybe it was pride. Maybe she was tired of always being the one to reach out, the one to worry. Let it go to voicemail, she thought. If it's important, he'll leave a message. Hours passed. The morning unfolded. Lori went through the motions. Errands, emails, lunch. The brief unease from Kevin's missed call had faded. It was now just a tiny blip in the background of her day. She even forgot to check if he'd left a voicemail. It seemed unimportant. Just another one of Kevin's impulsive gestures, probably. He'd call back if he really needed something. He always did. She tried to focus on her work, but a nagging feeling remained, just beneath the surface. Then in the late afternoon the phone rang again. This time it wasn't Kevin's number. It was an unknown local number. Lori frowned. She almost didn't answer, but something made her. A premonition? Or just a break from the monotony? "Hello?" she said. The voice on the other end was calm, official, a police officer. He asked if she was Lori Brennan, sister of Kevin Brennan. Her blood ran cold. Instantly. The words came next, measured, devoid of emotion, yet utterly devastating. "There's been an accident," the officer said. "Your brother, Kevin. I'm so sorry to inform you." The world tilted. Sounds became muffled. Lori sank into a chair. She couldn't quite process it. Accident? Kevin? Dead? It didn't make sense. It couldn't be true. He was young. He was infuriating sometimes, yes. It was days later, after the initial shockwave, after the endless stream of condolences, after the arrangements had begun. Lori found herself alone in her quiet house. The silence was different now. It was a heavy blanket, suffocating. She picked up her phone, listlessly scrolling through contacts. Her thumb hovered over Kevin's name. A wave of fresh grief washed over her. Then, she remembered. The missed call, from that morning, the morning he died. Her heart pounded. She navigated to her voicemail. There it was, one new message, from Kevin. A message he'd left just hours before, or so she thought. Her hands were shaking. What would he say? Was it important, a final goodbye, or just something mundane, something that would now feel unbearably poignant? She braced herself, took a deep breath. This was it. A voice from before everything changed. She looked at the details of the voicemail, the sender Kevin, the date that Tuesday, and then she saw the timestamp, 9:17 a.m. Her finger hovered over the play button, a sense of dread mixed with a desperate need to know. She had to listen, regardless of the impossible timestamp, regardless of the confusion. This was a message from Kevin. Or was it? What if it was just nothing? A glitch, a technical error? She pressed play, her heart hammered against her ribs. The small speaker crackled to life, or rather, to static. Harsh, unrelenting static filled the room. It was loud, abrasive, like a radio tuned to a dead channel. Disappointment washed over Lori. So it was a mistake, a corrupted file, a pocket dial that recorded nothing but noise. Of course, what else could it be? The impossible timestamp was probably just another part of the glitch. She felt a strange mix of relief and sorrow. No final words, no hidden message, just static. She was about to hang up. Then she heard it, or thought she did. Through the dense wall of static. Faint. So incredibly faint, almost imperceptible. A whisper. Was it a word or just her mind playing tricks? Her grief making her hear things? She strained her ears, listening intently. The static hissed and popped. And then, yes. There it was again, a single word spoken softly, barely audible, her name. Lori's mind raced. The voice, the timestamp. She needed to understand. She immediately checked her phone's call log, her recent calls. She scrolled back to that Tuesday morning, looking for the incoming call from Kevin, the one she had ignored, the one that supposedly generated this impossible voicemail. She scanned the list, her mother, the police, a few friends. But Kevin's call, it wasn't there. It was gone, vanished, as if it had never happened. But that was impossible. She, his name on the caller ID. She, not to answer. She remembered it clearly. The phone buzzing on the counter. Her hesitation. How could the record of that call simply disappear? Yet the voicemail was still there. Of course she saved the voicemail. How could she not? It was a tangible link, or an intangible one. To Kevin, to that last morning, to the unexplained. She backed it up to her computer, and then to a cloud drive, as if afraid it too might vanish. Like the call log entry, this tiny audio file, mostly static. With a whisper, it became a relic, a sacred, disturbing object in her digital life. Days turned into weeks. The funeral came and went, a somber affair, full of shared grief and unspoken questions. Life, in its relentless way, began to push Lori forward. Friends called, work beckoned. The sharp edges of her sorrow started to soften, just a little. But the voicemail remained, a constant, silent presence in the back of her mind, a secret she held close, too strange to share with most. Who would believe her? Who would understand? She couldn't bring herself to listen to it again. Lori did try to find explanations. At first, in the dead of night, when sleep wouldn't come, she'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, her mind a relentless detective. Could it have been a network delay? A call routed strangely? She read articles about cellular technology, about how voicemails are processed. Timestamps can occasionally be off, she learned, due to server issues, or differences in network clocks. This offered a sliver of rationality, a possible if imperfect explanation for that part of the puzzle. But what about the missing call log? That was harder to explain away. And the voice, that faint ethereal whisper of her name. Could it have been a pre-recorded message? Something Kevin had set up and forgotten? Unlikely. It felt too personal, too specific to that moment. Or was it simply auditory pareidolia, her grieving brain desperately trying to find meaning in random noise, to hear his voice one last time? Psychologists wrote about such things. The power of suggestion, the tricks memory can play. She considered everything, from the mundane to the less mundane. Could there have been interference? A crossed line with another call? Someone else saying Lori? It seemed improbable. The timing, the context, everything felt too specific, too connected to Kevin. And then there was the other thought. Months passed. The seasons changed. Autumn leaves fell. Winter's chill arrived. The rawness of Lori's grief began to dull. It was still there, of course, a constant companion, but it was softer now, a gentle ache rather than a searing pain. She found herself thinking about Kevin with more smiles than tears, remembering the good times, the laughter, the bond they shared. Despite everything, life continued, as it always does. One quiet evening she found herself thinking about the voicemail, not with the fear or confusion that had once consumed her, but with a strange sort of calm. A quiet acceptance. She hadn't listened to it again. She still didn't feel the need to. Its power, she realized, wasn't in the sound itself. but in its existence, in the fact that it had arrived against all odds, against all logic, a tiny, inexplicable event in the vastness of her loss. It no longer mattered so much it happened. The technicalities, the glitches, the impossible timelines, those details once so urgent now seem secondary. Some things you just can't explain. That's a hard truth to accept, especially when you're looking for answers, for closure. Science tries, logic tries. But sometimes the world presents you with a mystery that resists all attempts at dissection. Lori's voicemail from Kevin was one of those mysteries. A small personal enigma that sat right at the intersection of technology, grief, and the unknown. It defied easy categorization. It defied simple understanding. The voicemail became a permanent question mark, embedded in the narrative of her life, and inextricably linked to the story of Kevin's death. It wasn't a ghost story, not in the traditional sense. There were no rattling chains, no shadowy figures, just a whisper in a field of static, a digital anomaly. Yet, it haunted her, in its own quiet, persistent way. Not with fear anymore, but with a sense of wonder, and a touch of melancholy. She realized eventually that she didn't need an answer, not a definitive one anyway. The mystery itself had become part of her memory of Kevin, part of her grieving process. To solve it, to reduce it to a mere technical fault, would somehow diminish it. It would strip away the strange, fragile magic it held.
Thank you for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Put a comment in the comments section what you think of this video. This was real sad and it touched my heart. Till we see you again.